In a world where people are losing their minds, who will be the voice of sanity, of logic, of rationale, of morality and truth? This podcast is looking for like-minded people to stand up to the insane and be real. The Recovery Atheist podcast is calling you to step forward and be counted. Welcome to the voice of change. Welcome to the Recovery Atheist podcast.
All right, everybody, we're about getting ready to start here. How do you like my new vape? I think it's pretty cool. It's a Tesla, sold by Tesla. Good old Elon Musk decided he's going to get in the game. It's really cool. It hits really nice. Damn right. All right. Guess it's a good time to get started. Best time there, better time than anything, I guess. Let's see. All right. Well, hello out there in Podcast Nation. This is the Recovery Atheist coming to you from the Trey Entertainment Studios. And I just want to say that I am so happy that you were able to join me tonight. Yeah, so how's things going with everybody? How was your week? Here it is, Friday evening. I don't know about you guys, but it has seemed like it's been a pretty long week. Glad to get to Friday and get to my weekend and have a couple days to just have some R&R. I'm going to be hanging out with a lovely lady this weekend and just enjoying my time off this weekend. Not a lot really going on. I'm getting ready to move into the new house next week that I'll be house managing. That's what all this stuff over here is. It's my comforter and a nice new pillow for my new full-size bed and mattress pad. And, I mean, there's lots of stuff over there that is for the new house that I've ordered, and it's finally coming in. I'm very excited about making the move and getting over there and doing what I need to do. So, yeah, there's that. We've got all the current events going on with the COVID. Looks like the vaccine is right around the corner, hopefully. Hopefully that will help curtail some of the cases that are popping out right now. At least I hope so. So other than that, I hope everybody out there is having a great month of December. I hope you all are getting excited for the new holiday. We put the Christmas tree was put up in the house I'm living in right now. I'm going to make sure, hopefully next week when I get over there, that I'll talk to the house owner. We'll get some Christmas stuff for the new guys coming into the house, so at least we have a Christmas tree up. Yeah, it's exciting. Christmas is one of my favorite holidays. Got my parents coming up in a couple weeks. That'll be fun, and it'll be a good time to be able to be with them at the holidays. All right, so tonight, this week I've been doing a lot of research into this, and with my job, I sit at work at a desk watching cameras all day, security cameras and stuff, and so I get a lot of time while I'm sitting there doing that to be able to do some research. And so I decided this week, well, what do I want to do for research? And I've spoken with you before about this, that I'm going to be doing a collaboration with my buddy Patrick, who has a podcast himself down in the cities, the Twin Cities, that we're going to be dealing with recovery cults. We talked about Synanon, and there's one called The Group That was another one that was a recovery cult. So while I was sitting there doing that, I'm like, you know what? How about I just get into cults in general? Because we use the word cult for a lot of things, and it can be very easily used as a blanket statement for things, and it doesn't necessarily make it true that they are. So I want to kind of get into that, and I want to kind of see exactly what some of your thoughts are on it, and give some of my thoughts on it and what they are. And there's a lot of cults that are out there that are not very well known, that are still even active today, that are still causing issues today, that are still brainwashing people today. So I want to touch base with that. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to do a poll question for the people that are watching, you know, the video that I have live streamed on Facebook right now. And it's also one I'm going to send out to, you know, right now to my podcast listeners who are listening to me. Is AA a cult? People, I've heard it many, many times. Hell, I've even said it. I'm in AA now. I don't necessarily look at a cult. I do believe that there are people that treat it like it is. But I'm just going to throw that out there, is, do you feel that AA is a cult? And I'm going to send the poll out there right now on my live feed. I'm creating it right now. And I am publishing it right now. It is now active, and you can find that. So I'm just curious. I'm curious to what it is, you know, what you think about cults in general and whether or not AA. Now, for me, it's asking me right now on my phone if I think it is. I'm going to say right now, with the way that AA is incorporated into my life today and the way I have dealt with it today, I'm going to say that it's no. So I just put it in as a no. We'll see how it goes. And as time goes on, as I get more votes on here, if I get more people on here voting, I will show the results by the end of the show where we're sitting out on that. And so if you can share this video, this live stream, and get it out there to everybody so I can kind of get a bigger audience to be able to get everything voted on this way, that would be wonderful. Otherwise, let's go ahead and let's continue on with the show. So, obviously, when it comes to cults, we have our most common ones, right? I mean, we do. Think about it right now when I say cults. What are some of the cults that you think of the most right now? You would say the Manson family would be one. You got Heaven's Gate. You've got the Branch Davidians with David Koresh. Children of God, which that one, it's not as well known, but it was well known when it was around. It was pretty much a sex cult, and a lot of children being abused. And then you have the People's Temple, Jim Jones, Jonestown. That was a huge one. And if I'm not mentioning some, please in the comments let me know which ones that I didn't mention, or you can also get a hold of me and let me know at the Recovery Atheist at gmail.com, or find me on Facebook at Del Bacon, and just message me and let me know some cults that I forgot to put in there. But these are the ones that I in my head gets brought up as being the normal cults. But there's a lot of unheard of cults that you wouldn't even realize are there, cults that are kind of working behind the scenes. You know, we talk about the Illuminati and things like that as being behind the scenes. These are behind the scenes as well. Well, and if you wanted to throw some other common ones in there, I guess you could probably throw, and some people would call them this, that would be like Scientology, Mormonism could be considered a cult. Religions in general there's tons of religions that you could look at, and a lot of these cults do have some kind of a religious backing to it, like the Branch Davidians, the People's Temple, Children of God. A lot of them have a religious background to it, which is another thing that I have an issue with when it comes to religion, is it definitely has some cultic views that I don't agree with and that I think needs to be addressed. Okay? So, here are some other crazy cults that I found that a lot of people's never heard of. So, the first one I'm going to go into is the Atheist Society. They were founded in the mid-1950s by a British taxi driver. It's a New Age religion whose belief systems are built around the idea that a series of cosmic masters, mostly from Venus and Saturn, control the fate of humanity. Additionally, they focus heavily on prayer and spiritual charging. There's that religious connotation. Heavily on prayer and spiritually charging the earth to make way for the next master, a Masonic figure who will descend to earth in a flying saucer, armed with magic more powerful than the combined materialistic might of all the armies. So it's kind of got a little bit of a Jesus complex going on, doesn't it? Next one I have listed here is the Hono Hana Sempoyo. This modern Japanese sect is often referred to as the foot reading cult. Funny, huh? Foot reading. Based on the claim that its founder, who also claimed to be the reincarnation of both Jesus Christ and Buddha, both. Can't have just one, man. This guy's got both. Could diagnose followers' problems by simply examining their feet, and that they would die if they weren't examined appropriately. According to his methods, traits like short toes indicated a short temper, fat toes meant your life would be filled with good fortune. However, the whole ruse unraveled when followers fought back against the steep $900 fee he charged for each inspection. So he's charging $900 a person. $900 a foot. $900 a foot. That's pretty expensive, if you ask me. Oh, cults. I tell you, what they get away with and what people will believe in is crazy. Chen Tao. Chen Tao, otherwise known as the True Way Cult. It was formed by a former professor who is clearly insane. His beliefs included that the universe is 4.5 trillion years old. Our solar system was created by a nuclear war. We each have 3 souls. 3. We have 3 of them, according to him. And that humanity has been rescued on 5 different occasions by God descending in a flying saucer. And again, here's another thing with the cults that I find interesting. It's either got a religious connotation or idea to it, or it's got a flying saucer alien idea. Or both. They could have it together, which this one does. However, the 160-member group essentially disbanded after a failed prophecy in 1998 when the founder, Hon Ming Chen, predicted God would appear on a single TV channel in North America, whether or not you had cable, at 12:01 a.m. on March 31st, and obviously it never happened. Now, this next one I'm going to go into with a little bit on, because this next one I have done some studying about. I've watched a lot of videos about it on YouTube, and I've definitely dived into it, delved into it, and then went down the rabbit hole with it. And that's the Order of the Solar Temple. The Order of the Solar Temple really interested me when I started hearing about it and what it was about and what happened with it. Basically, it was set up by these 2 guys that got together, that were best friends, that got together and put together this belief system. Okay? It's all it is. It's creation. It's been created. It's a created belief system. This secret society's beliefs and activities involved a mix of early Christianity, UFOs, New Age philosophy, and Freemason rituals. Okay? So again, this has the full spectrum. It's got the Christianity, it's got the alien UFO, it's got New Age philosophy in it, and then it also brings in the Illuminati kind of Freemason kind of conspiracy as well. So they've got the full range, the full spectrum. They were a mostly peaceful organization with some unconventional beliefs, i.e., death is only an illusion and life continues on other planets. Until the infant son of one of its members was sacrificed in one of the group's lodges because he was believed to be the Antichrist. Did you hear that? An infant son of one of its members was sacrificed. Okay. We're talking extreme cult here. This is what it sparked my interest, because this is extreme. This is how people thought this was okay. They've lost their mind. So you've got an infant son of one of the members being sacrificed in one of the group lodges because they believed that this child was the Antichrist. You see it in movies and TV. Damien in The Omen, he was considered the Antichrist. You have Rosemary's Baby. It's all through these media movies and things of that nature. But here it is in real life actually happening. That's why we say all the time that movies, even though they're fake, they probably, no matter what, have some kind of truth involved. Like there's lots of horror films that are out there of horrible, horrible things. And there is a little bit of truth to it. It's usually based off an actual true event that happened, and they just twisted it to the way they wanted it. Shortly after, a number of the people in the inner circle committed mass suicide, and others were found mysteriously shot or smothered to death, and they were all dressed in their ceremonial robes, almost kind of like Heaven's Gate, where they all had the same jumpsuits, tracksuits on with the same shoes, all that, all laying on their bed. The other thing that's interesting about this is this cult is still alive and kicking today over in Europe. There's not a lot of members, only a few hundred, but it is still kicking as of today. I suggest you look that up. I suggest you look at them, looking at the Order of the Solar Temple. It is very interesting stuff to look up. The next one you have is the Freedomites. They were originally formed in Saskatchewan in 1902, so we're going back quite a bit. This pretty much shows that cults happen at all times, all eras, all types of people and lives. After a fracturing of different religious groups who had fled Russia to escape persecution, the Freedomites insisted on three different things: communal living, nudity, and anarchy. Woo! That sounds like a party, don't it? Sounds like the hippie movement before it even happened. A little bit. Maybe they were the inventors of the hippie movement. Communal living, nudity, and anarchy. They became most famous for their all-nude public demonstrations to show opposition to the material tendencies of society, and in the 20s and 30s even burned and bombed a whole slew of public buildings, while naked, of course. They were naked to show their disdain for the government. Wow. And this nudity, this communal living nudity happened, it was formed in Saskatchewan. It gets pretty fucking cold up there. Had to be pretty nipply. Definitely, if you were a guy, you had to have some shrinkage going on, wouldn't you say? I would think so. Now this one I found interesting too. Movement for the restoration of the Ten Commandments. It's a breakaway movement from the Roman Catholic Church. The movement was founded in the late 1980s in Uganda and revolved around the strict adherence to the Ten Commandments as a means of avoiding damnation in the apocalypse. Among the outer tenets were weekly fasts and outlawing of both soap and sex. Well, I can understand if you're going to outlaw soap, the sex part of it should probably come with that. Yeah. I don't think that would be probably a very good thing. I think about it like when I watch the old West days and I watch how they lived back in those days, or if I'm playing like Red Dead Redemption 2 on my PS4, and you go into the saloons to rent a room and then you take a bath and it's like the first bath you've had in like a month. Yeah, the sex part of it, I just don't know how they did it. I don't know if they were used to the smell or what, but yeah, so I would think if there's no soap involved, I wouldn't want to probably have sex. And it's not just necessarily the smell of the other person. I would smell horrible and would be very self-conscious about that. The sect began to unravel after the world failed to end at the start of the new millennium, as the leaders predicted. Again, another prediction. It happens a lot. When a prediction happens and it's revealed that way and it doesn't happen, you lose a lot of trust from your people who are following you, resulting in mass murder involving a series of poisoning, stabbings, and massive church fires. So they just turned on each other. Wow. That's crazy. All right, the next one is a very well-known one because of the actions that they did. And that's Shrinko-yo. And this is the guy over in Japan, the blind man, that had a following. He said he was pretty much Jesus Christ, Buddha combined, one of those again. He combined extreme and idiosyncratic interpretations of religion, ranging from Buddhism to Christianity. Aum was founded in 1984, considered fairly controversial from the beginning for its doomsday prophecies. He was the doomsday guy, which involved the Third World War, instigated by the U.S. Then things got violent. It was discovered that they engaged in outrageous, dangerous initiation practices, and they were murdering members who tried to leave the organization. So if you tried to leave, you were dead. The group was officially designated a terrorist group after they were found responsible for that coordinated sarin gas attack on 5 trains in the Tokyo subway system that killed 13 and affected more than 1,000 other commuters in '95. I remember that. I was 21, 95, 19. I was 19 at the time. I remember when that went down. And that was like one of the first times I really saw terrorism for what it was at and what it could do, and it was revolved around a cult. You got the creative movement. It was based in Illinois. Creative officially I can't ever say it. Creativity was officially formed in 1973 to unite white people through a common racial religion. We're having an issue with that right now here in Minnesota. There's a town here in Minnesota where this religion has decided to come in. It is a all-white religion, Anglo-Saxon religion, that has decided to rent out building for their church. And so they had a big thing on it where they had a big vote on it and everything like that. There's people protesting it. How dare you? I think the name of the town is Murdoch, but how dare you bring your racist ways into town here and do this? Now, I struggle with this. It's not right to be a racist and do all that. It's not right necessarily to use that church and go out and be racial against someone of a different color. I'm wondering, though, when it comes to religion, how are they protected? I'm going to have to look into this, because you would think that with religion being as protected as what it is, and that there's still white supremacist groups out there yet, still happening and being used, that they would have the right to say one way or another who their membership is. I don't think the government can get involved in shutting that down. Does it make it right? No, it doesn't. Not at all. But I don't think they can. I think the only thing they can do is take a vote from the community to say it's not going to happen. Well, they did that and they lost. The religion is able to come in now. They tried to put up a fight against it. Nope, they're coming in. They're going to be renting a building there in town. And so they have their first all-white church, only white church. And of course that's happening here in Minnesota, which that I'm just completely ashamed by that. I could see it if it was in the South, no offense to people in the South, but down there, the religious side of it, and also with a lot of the racist hate that happens. I know, I lived in Kentucky, I've been all over down there, Arkansas, that I could see that being more the case. But here in Minnesota, come on. I think the reason why they're even here is because in Minnesota, obviously the demographic of how many black people we have compared to white, we have a lot of white people here. Unless you're living in the cities, the bigger cities, and then you have more of the black population. But I don't know. I just find it unbelievable that we're allowing in the state of Minnesota for that to happen. So while much of their belief system, this creativity movement, while much of their belief system involves a naturalist philosophy and an abiding by an extremely healthy lifestyle, their supreme value is what is good for white people is the highest good. It's exactly the type of thinking that has earned them a place on a list of neo-Nazi organizations by Southern Poverty Law Center. So they're looked at as neo-Nazis. And I kind of feel that way almost about this church here in Minnesota that's doing what they're doing. They're very much on the line. Let's see here. This one I know quite well. I've read on this before. Raelism. It's founded in 1974 by French race car driver Claude Vorilhon. It teaches that human life was created intentionally by a bunch of aliens who later sent messengers in human form to check in on things, including Jesus and Buddha. On the surface, their values are quite agreeable, considering they advocate world peace, sharing, democracy, nonviolence, and a liberal view of sexuality, but they most certainly... Hey, this is my buddy Ian, by the way, everybody. I'm live streaming. This is my house manager. Hi, Ian. How you doing? Thanks for the screwdriver, by the way. But they most certainly have their strange side. So, for instance, in the late 1990s, the organization founded a clothing company, and it made bold claim without any scientific proof. There was no scientific proof of any of it. That they actually cloned a human in 2000. There's no proof of it, but they made that claim. So that's of those. There were some other ones I found here that I'm going to go through too as well that I had never heard of. Like these ones I just went through. I pretty much had heard of them before. I got to dive into them a little bit deeper and kind of get a better understanding of what they are. But then there's these other ones that I found that they're just so extreme or to a side of the way the world is that you wouldn't expect. In fact, in the article I read about it, it's kind of like an American Horror Story. Remember American Horror Story? The show came out with Cult, their season called Cult. So, the first one I have listed here is the Anthill Kids, which I found that to be an interesting name. And obviously there's kids involved, which is not good. That's not good to start off with when you got that going on. So, it looks like it was created by Roch Theroux. Ran a small doomsday cult in Ontario, Canada between 1977 and 1989. exercising absolute control over a dozen adults and at least 26 kids, most of whom he fathered himself with his 9 concubines. If you don't know what concubines means, it just means a harem, his mistresses. So before getting kicked out of the Seventh-day Adventist, so he was a Seventh-day Adventist, that's crazy, he amassed a following by organizing detox seminars for people trying to quit smoking or drinking. So here we go. Like I said, I haven't read any of these. I left them fresh so I could be fresh and talking about it and giving my feelings on it. The other ones I kind of knew. These I didn't even read about it. I wanted to be fresh. I wanted to be able to give out my own ideas about what I thought about it. So remember, I said we're going to be doing cults where it comes to recovery cults and how they work. So this had a little bit of a recovery cult to it. So he started detox seminars dealing with quit smoking and quit drinking. That's pretty interesting. He convinced several of them to quit their jobs and leave their families to live with him in the wilderness, dubbing them the Ant Hill Kids because of how hard he demanded they work. And when I say demand, this is in the article, it says, I mean he forced them to break their own legs with sledgehammers if they refused. Yeah, that's pretty extreme. He predicted the end of the world in 79. He successfully became the sadistic cult leader, demanding absolutely loyalty, punishing naysayers and doubters. He nailed children to trees, made his followers eat their own feces, and when angered, he'd strip them down and bat them, pluck their hair out one by one, and many other forms of abuse. He also refused to take anyone to the doctor, instead performing surgeries himself without anesthetics. Anesthesics are, you know what I mean, numbing. I hate that word. You ever have that, where you just have certain words you struggle with saying no matter how smart you are? Which resulted in one woman's death from pulling out her intestines. That sounds like he really knew what he was doing. He also killed a child during a failed circumcision, and one more died after being left outside during a blizzard as punishment. This is just a really, really nice guy. Really nice guy. Wasn't until 89 that Gabriel Lavallee, having been brutally mutilated by him on more than one occasion, finally escaped and contacted the authorities. He was given a life sentence, but he was killed in 2011 by a cellmate. Still, a good portion of his followers have never recovered from their abuse and have continued to obey his teachings. They're continuing to live with him in the grave by his teachings. Unreal. Fucking unreal. Unreal. Got the Fall River cult. It all started when the body of a 17-year-old sex worker, Doreen Levesque, was found outside a Massachusetts high school. Her wrists were bound with fishing line, and she had been horrifically beaten and sexually assaulted. Police originally suspected one of her clients had done it, but 1 year later the body of another sex worker was found on a makeshift altar. Later, a sex worker named Karen Marston came forward, fearing for her life, claiming that a pimp, Carl Drew, and a sex worker, Robin Murphy, who was also Marston's girlfriend, were responsible for the murders. She said Drew and Murphy were part of a devil-worshipping prostitution ring, and they performed rituals and human sacrifices deep within the forest. More so, she worried that she could be the next victim for cooperating with the authorities, though they didn't take her concerns seriously. 6 months later, Marston's body was found, or rather, her toothless skull. Boy, she was right. Cops should have probably listened to her on that one, don't you think? Wow. So Drew got arrested for it, while another man, an Andrew Maltese, was charged in connection to one of the other murders connected to the cult. Others think the murders weren't actually devil worship. They were just centralized because of the satanic panic of the 1980s. Huge satanic panic in the 1980s. Go back and look at that. It was all over the place. Everything, Dungeons and Dragons, everything that you could possibly think of, the Christians would go, oh, that has Satan involved. It was unreal. It was just out of line. I mean, everything, anything they saw, like, and it's kind of happening again. It's still around. Like, I saw a thing on Facebook where a Christian right extremist put this post on their Facebook page showing the Democratic Party symbol turned on its side is a upside down pentagram. You know, it's the pentagram, the upside down star, and everyone's like, so what? Look at the Republican Party symbol. The Republican Party symbol, you don't even have to turn it on its side, and it's got 3 of them. It's got the elephant and then 3 of those pentagrams on it, upside down stars like that. And there's 3 of them. So what does that mean? 666? I mean, you could go any direction with it. It's ridiculous how people can take things and try to turn it into a panic. So anyway, that's some of the cults that I've been looking into, and I'm going to be doing a lot more here in the future. Especially dealing with recovery. So I'm going to look more into this, which one was it? The Anthill cult? I'm going to look into that a little bit more, especially dealing with, and it looks like they have a thing on YouTube, a video about it. So I'm going to look into the Anthill kids and see exactly what that was about, a little bit more intel, get some more detail on it. But when it comes down to it, people will believe anything. It's the truth. If you hit them when they're at their weakest point, they will believe anything, follow anything, and do anything. I really do feel that way. For me personally, I don't. For me personally, you've got to show me some pretty damn good evidence for me to sit there and be like, yep, I'm going to follow and worship something. It's not happening. I am my own entity. I have my own identity. I am not going to just fall in as sheep into a certain mold. And that even goes for atheism. Okay? Been listening to a lot of Christopher Hitchens. Christopher Hitchens was an asshole. He had good points, don't get me wrong. He was good at what he did in debating, but he was a prick. He was an arrogant fuck. Let's just be honest about it, people. He was an arrogant, self-involved prick. And then you wonder why there's people out there that have such a view about the way atheists are and give us a bad light when people see him do what he did. Now, he made very good points. Like I said, I've read his books. He definitely has good points, but the way he brought it out and brought it across, it was like he was better than everybody. Well, that's no different than a Christian trying to do that. You're not helping the cause, Christopher. I don't know what to say about it, but yeah, so I guess the biggest thing today I'm wanting to try to say is let's not just believe things just because we hear somebody say it or they heard it from this person who heard it from this person. We need to do research. We need to look into things that are being said to us of whether or not they're real or not. Let's stop being duped. Let's stop being thrown to the wolves because we believe stuff that's not really the truth. And there's lots of people out there today that walk around. I call them the wolves in sheep's clothing. They walk around acting like they have it all together and have the answers and that they're someone that you can trust and they're safe just to exploit you. So this brings me back to recovery. This brings me back to the different support groups that are out there, whether it be AA, NA, CA, MA. I mean, there's tons of A's out there. There are people, even within AA and NA and all the groups, that will take advantage of you. That has a way of kind of treating it like a cult, like you believe, I've seen people with their sponsor where they literally look at their sponsor like he's God. He's just a man, just a woman. They make lots of mistakes. My sponsor, Isaac, is just a man. He's my best friend. The reason why he is so good at being my sponsor is because I can look at him and I see me. I can relate to him. He is not perfect. He makes mistakes. Every day he's got to be conscious of what he's doing in his life to make sure that he's living his life in recovery. That's not easy to do. So today I ask, who are you following today and believing, and should you? Should you question more about what your beliefs are? Now, you say that to a Christian, and they will sit there and tell you, no, don't ask questions. Just believe what we tell you. Believe what the Bible tells you. This is the truth. The way, the truth, and the light. It's the only way to do it. No. Just because you tell me that doesn't mean you're right. And I don't care how many years of experience you say you have. I've got tons of experience of being a drug counselor and working with addictions. You would think I'd be able to be an expert of how to stay sober. But I'm not. I have fallen down over and over and over again, even though I've got book smarts about it. Question things. If it doesn't seem right, figure out why. If it doesn't make sense what's being told to you that you need to do, well, why is that? Expand your mind to understand that there could be a reason for your feeling that way. It's okay to go with your gut, with your instinct. You don't have to follow everybody that tells you to follow. Be a trailblazer. Form your own path. Become stronger in your identity and who you are by going in the direction that you need to do for you in your life to be stronger. You don't need to be following a huge group of people to feel like you're okay, to feel that you belong, to feel that you are a strong individual. I really, when it comes to people that struggle with that and they have a hard time with being able to do things without somebody else giving them direction or holding their hand on it, that really concerns me. Make a decision on your own. It's time to stop letting people control us, and let's start looking at what we can control ourselves. It's time to stop being the victim. Some people will sit there and let people control them and tell them what to do, so when something goes wrong, they can play the victim role. And then they don't have to take any kind of accountability for it being their mistake of being in the situation in the first place. Take some control of your life. Take some control of the decisions that you make. Be your own person. Don't be brainwashed by people walking around thinking they have all the answers. You're just feeding into their ego, and they're going to hurt you with it. Be happy being able to be yourself and be an individual and make choices on your own. I guarantee you that if you're able to do that, you'll find life to be a lot more happier, to not be as stressful, to feel free. Just think that in the world that we're living in today, we need to get more people to just, we can all have somewhat of the same way of thinking in certain things, but at the same time, I think it's just the individuality and the differences that we have is what makes life interesting. It would be so boring if we all just believed the same way, looked the same way, dressed the same way, talked the same way, slept the same way, ate the same way, ate the same things, watched the same thing. I mean, it would be boring. Be completely boring. So I'm looking at the results here. I ended up only getting 4 votes, and I'm going to leave it up for people after this. I'm going to show the results right now. So we had 4 votes, 3 said no, 1 said not sure. And so that's kind of where I'm at with it too. I think that when it comes down to it, I think most people would say it's not. I think there are going to be some out there that say it can have some of those traits. But for me, without a doubt, it's working for me, and I don't feel like I'm in a cult. I still have my own individuality and can make up my own decisions about what I agree with in the big book and what I don't. And I'm very vocal about it, especially when you get to the chapter like We Agnostics. I'm very vocal about my differences I have with the opinion of Bill W. Bill W. is not the end-all of recovery. This is a man that on his deathbed was screaming out for a drink. This is a man that used LSD in the 70s as a way to try to figure out if it would work to get rid of alcoholism so he could drink again. This guy was not perfect, people. Stop putting him up on the pedestal like a cult leader. He was just a man. Bill W. would have had it his way, he would have been making money off of AA. Because he was a businessman. He wanted to make money. He wanted to sell books. He wanted to charge people to be a member of it. Bob was like, you can't do that. It's got to be anonymous. If we do that, we're not going to be any different than the other groups that were out there that ended up disbanding. The Washingtonians. There's lots of groups that were out there that were membership groups, and they got involved in politics and things of that nature, and boom, disbanded, destroyed. Bob knew we would have to keep it anonymous, and we would have to keep it not public, because if we didn't, it would be corrupted. Bill wanted to do that. He wanted to push it out there and sell books and make millions off of it. Bob's like, no. So Bill W. is not a god. He's one of the creators of the program, but even his thoughts and the way he did things from back then compared to today, a lot of what he did is outdated. You have to look at the big book, and you have to be able to adjust it to the times that we live in today. We do not live in the 1930s anymore. Some of the stuff that is said in those books, in that book and in those chapters, do not relate anymore to the time that we live in today. They just don't. You can't incorporate that. You can't incorporate the way life was in 1936 into life into 2020. It just doesn't work. It's been almost 100 years. You've got to reinvent some of it. You've got to look at what they're saying and look at it and try to rephrase it and look at it from the way our context of the way the world we live in today is. Stop living in the past. That's what I've been able to do in AA. That's what I've been able to do to get through the steps, is I've adjusted it according to my beliefs and according to modern day in the world I live in today and more progressive views, because I'm not going to live the AA program like 1936. I guess overall what I'm trying to say today is, when it comes to our lives and everything that we do out here in the world, you have the right to be yourself. You have the right to have your own thoughts. You have the right to have your own beliefs. You have the right to have an opinion. You have the right to disagree with someone's beliefs. You don't have to sit there and just take it. You have the right to have a voice. You have a right to be able to stand up and say, no, I will not take that. But do you have the courage to do it? You know, I don't brag about myself very much, but I do have the courage to do it. And I do it every time with these podcasts. I could care less what people think. Couldn't care less about what people think about my views and my opinions and whether or not they fucking offend you. I don't fucking care. Deal with it. You'll get over it. You'll be fine. Remember, those people who get offended like that, remember, I don't play any role in your life, so why are you allowing me to be able to affect you that way? I don't let you fucking affect me. So why should I care whether or not you're offended? You don't play a role in my life. Be offended. In fact, I like it. I like when I get offended. Just makes my life so much more interesting. Makes me have some fire to be able to speak with and come back at that person. There's nothing wrong with having difference of opinions and being offended by some certain things. Sometimes that's the way the truth comes out. So yeah, that's my podcast today. I am just excited where we're at. I just passed 800 downloads, on my way to 1,000. I can't wait to get to that 1,000. You get to that 1,000, you know you've built a pretty good foundation. I'm in 16 different countries. I've been in 41 different states here in America. I want to give a shout out to a lot of people out there, all my friends here in Duluth that are listening to me. Everyone in America that's listening to me, I'm getting it from everywhere now. West Coast, East Coast, down south even. Canada's getting big. Australians getting big. UK, I'm so happy the UK is listening to me now. I'm really excited about that. I got South Africa listening to me on a consistent basis. And then, of course, my two fan base countries that have been with me all along outside of America. That is France and that is Ireland. I want to thank both countries for listening to me and enjoying my show and continuing to come back and listen. Spread the word. We're going to have a good 2021. It's going to be fire. I'm going to bring the pain in 2021. It's going to be controversial. And hopefully we won't have to talk about the COVID. Hopefully the COVID will be gone by then. All right, everybody. Thanks for listening to me. Thanks for coming and checking out my show. You can also find my videos of this on my YouTube channel, The Recovery Atheist. Please subscribe if you get the chance. You can find me on many different platforms like Spotify, Pandora, iHeartRadio. I mean, I'm all over the place now. It's wonderful how far my reach is now. And just take me on the go when you on the go. Pull out your Android, your iPhone, on your Sirius radio, whatever you want, man. You'll find it there, and I'm excited to have that. If you want to get a hold of me as well, I'm at therecoveryatheist@gmail.com. You can also find me on Facebook at Del Bacon, DELBACON. I also have a recovery group, side group called the Recovery Atheist that you can find me on there. And I also have my business page, Trey Entertainment, TRA Entertainment. I'm always looking for people to be able to interview. It can be someone in recovery who just wants to give their strength and hope in their story. It can be someone who wants to talk about atheism and how it applies to their life, Satanism, if you want to go into that. I'm part of the Satanic Temple. I'm a member, card-carrying member. So if you want to talk about certain things about that, we can. Talk about politics. And we could talk about religion. I love doing religion. I've got lots of training in it. I've definitely preached my sermons, and my dad has been a minister for over 40 years, and my mom has ministered as well. So, I mean, I've got lots of education when it comes to religion. So I would love to have someone who's maybe a religious apologetic come on, and we can have a nice, friendly debate and just talk about things and see where we lie. So if you're interested in any of that, just get a hold of me, contact me. Be safe out there. Be safe with the holidays and your families coming into town. And wear your masks. If you got COVID already, speedy recovery, but please wear your masks. Be safe. And happy holidays. Talk to you later. Peace.
Thank you for listening to the Recovery Atheist podcast. It's now up to you. What will you do with what you've heard? How will you use it? I challenge you not to stay silent. Be heard. Be real. Be different.